Andy's toys should have died in the incinerator in Toy Story 3. I know this sounds crazy, but hear me out. Toy Story 4 is a movie that gets a ton of criticism for unnecessarily adding to a story that people already felt was complete with Toy Story 3. And now with Toy Story 5 coming out, people are more and more starting to feel like Toy Story 4 ruined the perfect ending of Toy Story 3, and turned Toy Story into just another franchise that'll go on forever. But I personally have a very different take on this. I don't believe the issue is with Toy Story 4 at all. It's actually with Toy Story 3. Because Andy's toys should never have survived the incinerator to begin with, and they definitely never should have been passed down to Bonnie. The issue is with how Toy Story 3 decided to end, and we only are seeing the natural continuation of that playing out. But this is where the problem first started. I've always criticized the decision to have Woody separate from Buzz at the end of 4, but this really isn't the fault of Toy Story 4 itself. Andy giving his toys to Bonnie is something that never should have happened, and Bonnie is the one who steered the franchise in a completely different direction. The story never was actually complete with Toy Story 3, because you're still left to wonder, well, what happens with Bonnie now? It's only resetting the story with a different kid, not actually bringing it to a conclusion. So I'm proposing the idea, what if the toys were actually destroyed in the incinerator? Would that have been a better ending than what we got? And I have to say yes, it actually would be. Throughout the Toy Story franchise, we're continually reminded of the same message time after time. A toy's sole purpose is to serve their kid, and every time selfishness arises, Woody and the toys are constantly reminded that being there for Andy is what matters. In the first movie, it was Buzz that needed to learn his purpose was to serve Andy as a toy, and that he's not a real space ranger. In Toy Story 2, it's Woody that needs to be reminded that his own glory doesn't matter. His purpose is to be there for Andy. And finally in Toy Story 3, the other toys get carried away with their own desires of being played with, that they decide it's a good idea to donate themselves to a daycare. Woody needs to remind them that this is selfish. Their only purpose is to be there for Andy. And by the end, they realize that Woody was right. Andy actually does care about them. Which brings us to the incinerator scene. This is easily one of the most tense moments in any Pixar movie, and I personally believe it should have ended for them here. The mission is completed. They served Andy through childhood, and now having them burned would be the perfect fulfillment of this message. The toy's only purpose is to serve their kid. This would be the perfect way to show the futility of toys, and it would echo the Prospector's message from Toy Story 2. But no, Pixar decided that Andy should give his toys to this random girl that had a loose connection to his mom, and that would be the way the movie ends, by resetting the story with a new kid to do the same thing all over again, which in itself could have worked in theory, but the problem is that Bonnie had no sentimental value to these toys. She never valued them the way Andy did, and we see this play out in Toy Story 4, and it leaves Woody in a situation where that same selfishness that he had in the second film arises once more. If he doesn't have a kid to serve, then why not serve himself by living his own life and doing what he wants to do? That same message that we're reminded of time and time again, this movie decides to completely disregard, having Woody go off with Bo Peep and become a lost toy. This really flips the whole entire message of Toy Story on its head, because now this raises the question, was Woody right back in Toy Story 2 when he wanted to go and become an idol in a museum for his own glory? When you think about it, it's not much different from him becoming a lost toy. This movie's entire message is the reverse of everything the franchise stood for, and it's not actually the fault of Toy Story 4. It was Toy Story 3 that decided to give the toys to Bonnie, a kid that had no attachment to them in the first place. They gave up the perfect opportunity to end things and emphasize the message that this franchise has had all along, that being there for Andy is all that matters. The moment that Andy no longer needs them, they're made to be disposable. Literally every single movie has been leading up to this moment, and it would go to show that there's more to life than material objects. They serve you for a season and are disregarded. This is the same message that Up had when Carl had to let his house go. Immediately after the incinerator, we would cut to Andy still looking for them. Andy realizes that he can't find his toys, and he would have had to accept the fact that they were just toys. He would have moved on, and that would be the message of the movie. The way they decided to end things left too much room for the story to get messy, and that's what we're seeing now. But who knows, maybe I'm wrong and Toy Story 5 will actually tie all this together nicely. I'm holding out hope that Pixar has an ultimate plan for this storyline to have a cohesive message. But anyway, I want to know what you think in the comments. Should Toy Story have ended with the incinerator, or is this all going to make sense with Toy Story 5? Let me hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.